What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Alolan DataDex with me, TheOneIntegral. Last episode we covered Muku, and I gave you a choice between two Guardians. For today's episode we had Tapu Bulu and Tapu Fini, and Bulu came out on top, only just though, but we'll be covering him today. Grass Fairy, him or her, it's a genderless Pokemon, so either works. But for next episode we then have two Ultra Beasts up for the vote. We have Nihilego and we have Xurkitree, two Ultra Beasts we haven't seen offered as a choice before, so let's see the Rock Poison type Nihilego or the Pure Ledge type Xurkitree. Let me know down below by commenting either Nihilego or Xurkitree. But for now, let's jump in and have a look at Tapu Bulu. As I mentioned, it's a Grass Fairy type and number 787 in the National Pokédex. It is also the Land Spirit Pokemon along with the rest of the Guardians, and in terms of its size, it is 6 foot or 3 inches, or alternative 6 foot and 3 inches, or 1.9 meters, and weighs 100.3 pounds or 45.5 kilograms. So pretty big and pretty heavy. In terms of the egg group and breeding, as I mentioned, it is genderless, and of course, being a legendary, is part of the undiscovered egg group. Doesn't evolve from into anything else because that's what most legendaries do, and looking at the base stats you can see its highest base stat is 130 in attack. Then we go down 115 in defense. Further down we have special defense at 95, speed at 75, health points at 70, and also special attack at 85, coming back a bit as well. So in terms of, obviously the Guardian Pokemon all have the same stats, just spread across differently. So for example, some have higher special attack, 130 special attack for example. So it's obviously physical attacker and physically defensive as well. In terms of ability we have Grassy Surge, which turns the ground into grassy terrain when it enters the battle, as I'm sure you know. So what's the typing like? Well, Grass Fairy I suppose is decent. It's got 6 resistances with Grass, Water, Electric, Fighting Ground and Dark, 5 weaknesses with Fire, Flying, Poison, Ice and Steel. Bear in mind that Poison weakness is a 4 times weakness. It's immune to Dragon, which I guess is pretty good, and then takes neutral in the last 6 types. So I'd say it's half and half almost. There's a lot of resistances and a lot of resistances. A fair few weaknesses though as well, and that 4 times weakness to Poison, and of course Poison is becoming more popular I suppose with fairy types around, so yes, you have to watch out, but I'd say it's not a bad type as such. So the moves, what might you want to use? Well, as I mentioned, it is a physical attacker as well as being physically defensive, so you could use it in either role really, so we're looking at moves that couldn't be used in either of those two setups. So first, a level 26, or basically via Heart Scale, because of course you can't catch it at very low level. It learns Leech Seed, 90% accuracy, but pretty good in terms of defensiveness because you can leech the opponent, they slowly lose health points, and then you get their health points from them, so pretty decent, from what I'd say there at least. So that's for obviously a defensive set. Then at level 32 it would learn Horn Leech, so again probably a Heart Scale, 75 base damage. It's a health and restoration move, so pretty good there. And generally, yeah, pretty good. Grass, more health and restoration, so combine that with Leech Seed and Leftovers, you're just going to be going for days on your health and restoration, so it's pretty good there, and of course you get stab on it too. Then level 53, which it might know when you catch it, who knows, is Mega Horn, very powerful bug type with 120 base power, only 85% accuracy, but it's higher than most, I suppose, higher than some big moves, but it's good coverage really. Bug type, so it'll allow you to hit other grass types really, as well as obviously other Pokemon like Psychic and stuff like that. Then the TMs, first we have TM08 Bulk Up. This is definitely going to work out for a defensive set since it raises both your physical attack and your physical defense, allowing you to get really bulky, as well as also be able to do some decent damage on the side. Then we have TM17 Protect, pretty good for a defensive set as well, because if you set Leech Seed up, as I mentioned, you have Leech Seed, you have Leftovers, you can protect every other turn, which means you double your health and restoration basically, since you're only taking damage every other turn. Then some more attacking moves, we have TM31 Brick Break, so its move pool isn't huge, so Brick Break really just, coverage there. It's not a hugely powerful move, but it can cover stuff like Steel, which otherwise would be completely immune to you basically, with Grass, Fairy and Bug not exactly doing very much damage, and yeah, just being general coverage. One final TM then is Substitute, which of course allows you to sub up, so it can be pretty good again in a defensive situation because you can substitute, you can Leech Seed to get help points behind that substitute, then of course you can Horn Leech to get some help behind it as well, and then you can also bulk up as well with it too, so Substitute works out pretty well there. The final two moves are both heart scale moves since they're learnt at level 1, which means you definitely can get them by leveling up, and of course the others are unlikely as well. The first is Superpower, which is a very powerful fighting type move. Alternative to Brick Break, of course you have to remember with Superpower, what happens after you use it? Your attack and your defense goes down. So if you can combine it with Bulk Up, so you can Bulk Up and Superpower in 2-turn sort of situation, 2-turn patterns, pretty good there. But of course, if you don't want to deal with that stat loss, you can go for Brick Break, but Superpower is definitely more powerful. Then to go alongside it, of course, we have another 120 base power move, and that is Wood Hammer. Of course, it's an alternative to your Horn Leech if you, again, want to be doing more damage, but it's sacrificing Helmet Restoration. And of course, you have to remember to, with Wood Hammer, you will take recoil damage, so of course you have to bear that in mind as well. So more of a full-out offensive rather than a bulky or a defensive Pokemon. So those are the moves you could be using with your Tapu Bulu, that's what it is. So we're going to look at two sets. The first is all-out attacking, and the second one is more defensive, as I've been talking about. In terms of the first move set, we have Wood Hammer, Horn Leech, Mega Horn, and Superpower. Ability is Grassy Surge. Nature is an animal one. Held item is a choice band, and the EVs we have maximum attack and speed, and the last few in physical defense. So Wood Hammer, Mega Horn, Superpower are your three powerful moves. So the idea is generally to go in, choice band one of those, and do a lot of damage. Then you can switch back in later on, and you have Horn Leech, so you can go for 1 or 2 attacks with a choice band and Horn Leech to hopefully restore any health points that you lost from Wood Hammer's recoil, or of course Superpower's sort of defense lowering that you might have been taking some damage from. So that's the options there. In terms of the rest of the set, of course we have an Animator for the most power. We're not the fastest of Pokemon, so we're not really going to be looking too much into that. Grassy Surge as an ability, we haven't talked too much about it, but what of course it does is sets the grassy terrain up. So what does that do? Well, any Pokemon on the ground gets Health Restoration at the end of the turn. So of course that's going to work pretty well for Tapu Bulu as well, because you get that for free. So basically get a free leftovers, but of course it does apply to other grounded Pokemon, i.e. anyone else on the enemy team. So you definitely sort of want to think about that, because otherwise it's not like free leftovers for you, it's free leftovers to everyone on the ground. So flying types are immune to it, or I guess immune, as well as I feel Pokemon too, so you have to pick it closely. But other things about grassy terrain: boost the power of grass type moves by 50%, which is a lot. So Wood Hammer or Horn Leech is definitely the way to go, when you switch in, if unless it's like another move is super effective, for example. And of course there are a few other effects, but nothing too significant there. We have Choice Band as a held item because the idea, as I mentioned, is to go and do a lot of damage and switch out, and then maybe come in later on and heal up with Horn Leech using a Choice Band again. And the EV's maximum attack and speed just for the most damage, and of course the most speed, we're just really putting some in speed there just to make us outspeed the slower Pokemon, or some slower Pokemon. Of course we don't want the Joy Nature because we don't want to sacrifice the attack damage for more speed, because we want to do a lot of damage generally. In terms of using the set, I've sort of mentioned it already, it is a choice band set. You go in, you do damage, you switch out, it's as simple as that. So let's move on to the second one, because that's a bit more interesting. In terms of the moveset, we have Leech Seed, Bulk Up, Horn Leech, and Brick Break. Ability, of course, is Grassy Surge again. Nature is an adamant one. Held item is a leftovers, and the EVs are similar but a bit different. We have maximum attack EVs, 144 in speed, and 112 in health points. So the moves: Leech Seed you want to set up as soon as possible, because that gives you double leftovers basically. Factor in the grassy terrain for a few turns, it's even more leftovers. Bulk Up is what you want to spam after that basically, so you can get your attack and your defense higher and higher. Of course, if you're against a physical attacker, you might as well just do that for days. Hopefully they won't have any poison type moves basically, and you can just keep on doing that. If you're against a special attacker, maybe do it once or twice and then go for the attacks yourself. Otherwise the defense boost is really nullable, because they are going to be using special attacks. So unless you're actually attacking them, there's no point in bulking up. So you might as well do 1 or 2 and then go for the Horn Leech or the Brick Break. In terms of those two moves, of course Horn Leech is your stab. When you're on grassy terrain it's more powerful, and of course it's another Help and Restoration technique, or tactical move. So you can bulk up, you can Horn Leech, you get health points back again. Brick Break is coverage, as I mentioned, because without Brick Break, Steel types are just going to sort of shrug you off, they're going to completely ignore you. And of course just general coverage as well works pretty good. Ability obviously same as before. Nature is an adamant one. Once again, we're not going for defensive nature here, because we have Bulk Up to make us defensive and really bulky in that sense. So we have adamant just to give us all the power, while relying on the EVs to bulk us up a bit more. You see, rather than having maximum speed, we're bulkier, so we don't really need to be as fast. So we can put some of those in health points to give us that general overall bulk. Bear in mind, we're not actually boosting up our special defense at any point. We're not particularly special defensive, only 95, which isn't bad, but it's only 95. So you have to be careful in terms of that. A special attacker, especially a poison type, could easily come in and destroy you fairly easily, so you want to watch out for that. But of course, leftovers is the item, because we want to set Leech Seed up. We have Grassy Terrain for a few turns, so for the first 5 turns, as long as you set Leech Seed up on the first turn, you have 3 lots of Help and Restoration, which is pretty good. Obviously factor in Horn Leech as well for any extra you want. But that is going to be it for today's episode. That is going to be it for Tapu Bulu. So be sure to let me know which Pokemon you'd like to see next episode, either Nihilego or Xurkitree. Let me know down below by commenting either Nihilego or Xurkitree. But for now, this is going to be it for today, so I shall be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.